Today's video is part 3 of my adventures and dreams. It's a little bit late, I apologize for that. I've been doing a lot of thinking and planning to come up with the right way to execute it. Because today we're talking about my visitors, the frequent flyers of my dreams and nightmares. They are most akin to sleep paralysis demons, or anytime I've tried to describe them to anyone, that's the conclusion the person I'm describing them to has come to. They visit me at a time kind of sort of between awake and asleep, because I fall asleep with my eyes open if I'm stressed. This adds this terrifying realness to my visitors. They are cast on a world of immense detail that I can literally see by my sleeping brain. It is painting my dreams over the real world because I can still see the real world, and it's terrifying. Now, I do admit I was afraid of my friends for years. These visitors visited me nightly and terrified me. But I grew to like them, and I have grown to miss them now that they've stopped visiting. Let's start with my slightly less terrifying visitor. She hasn't been visiting me as long and has actually been missing from my life for longer. She started visiting me when I was an elder teen, 18, 19 range, when my teenage years were coming to an end. She is a ballerina. Her joints move rather like a marionette doll. She usually appears crumpled in a dark corner, just as a silhouette, occasionally readjusting herself creakily and slowly like she's trying to hide that she's moving. For years I was so afraid of her that I wouldn't acknowledge her. At first she was terrifying, but in retrospect she may have been trying a little too hard to be scary. Her thin-limbed body kind of was awkward and leaned into the fact that she was a preteen or teenager. Eventually, curiosity got the best of me. I started looking at her in detail. She didn't have much, as she was made of shadow or some inky dark velvety substance. She wore a pancake tutu and point shoes. Her limbs always stuck out at the most awkward, broken angles, and this lended itself to being creepy, but it was just kind of awkward the closer you looked at it. Again, in retrospect, she just looked gangly, like she was still adjusting to her body. One night, she appeared, and I was just so tired. I was done being afraid. I looked her in the eye, or where her eyes ought to be, and yelled, or probably more actually groaned for her to F off. She squeaked, startled by my interaction, but she jumps up like someone had yanked on her strings and scampers out through the crack in the door. And I never heard or saw her again, which is a little disappointing, and I do miss her, but I needed to sleep. My second visitor hasn't visited me in almost a year now, but has been visiting me since I was very little. She was why I insisted on sleeping on the top bunk from the age of 4 till well into college. She is much scarier. You may have even noticed her playing a role in some of my other dreams. Though none of my visitors have ever tried to really harm me, I endearingly refer to her as a spider hag or crone. But what makes her the scariest is because she responds. She's not stationary like the ballerina. She wanders around my room. She's gotta be like 6 feet tall, but she's hunched with age. Her skin is pale and translucent, and she has so many wrinkles it looks like her flesh is gonna fall off her bones. But she's twisted and frail looking, sinister and just creepy. She's draped with frayed black rotting cloth. So it's hard to tell where her limbs actually are. You never get to see her hair because her hooded cloak is always pulled up. Her hands hide in her sleeves. But if you look at her, oh God, don't look directly at her. Don't interact with her. Don't talk to her. But if you look directly at her, her mouth tears open and her limbs contort and multiply while she drops to the floor, transforming into a terrifying half spider, half crone creature that skitters along the floor, the sounds of her limbs breaking and bending in all the wrong places as she crawls on the floor, just out of sight, doing who knows what, is just awful. But as long as you don't look at her and don't acknowledge her, she just mills about, being creepy. And those are my 2 sleep visitors. I miss them both, and I actually do hope to see them again. They are much less scary than the creepy man in the doorway or the little girl in red that I get to get visits from when I'm overtired. Those 2 friends are a topic for another video. For now, I bid you farewell and good night.